We've checked Ollie's hair is fine. You'll be pleased to know we're going to review the weekend's games with some controversies, and we can do this in comfort of knowledge that Ollie's hair is just fine. So we're swimming in an ocean of mediocrity. Southampton 1, Man City 1, then Arsenal 0, Burnley 0. Why did we bother?
Ours wasn't mediocre. We moved back above Spurs. So.
what are we doing on this show? Well, we should be just like crawled off in a cave somewhere with a beer. So, go on. So, Ollie, before Adam, have a go. What happened against Burnley? They're the bottom club in the league.
Well, I had the obviously pleasure of being there.
Okay, go on, hit it with...
which was even better because then you get to see it firsthand. Yeah, it wasn't a good game. We didn't play very well. And I think all it just shows is that we don't have a striker. And then the one glaring chance we get, we miss it. Like you said, it did look like that was a sending off for the stamping on Tierney, but as always,
was that a red card? Was that a red card? Was that a red card?
Yeah, it looks like a red card to me. And some middle-rate referee has just said it was a red card, so I'm going to take that as gospel on that one. But you know, these things don't get given against Arsenal, so it's one of those.
Any comment on some stats there? You know, against this, top, side in Europe of Burnley, who, we've got. Yes, Arsenal did have 67% possession. But Burnley still got 7 shots away, 3 of them on target, which was 3 more than Arsenal. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, shots on target and shots, they're not. So they had 3 shots on target.
What minute was that taken, though? Because Ødegaard definitely had a shot on target that forced us, Nick Pope saved.
It wasn't.
I think you got the wrong one there, Ian.
Yeah.
I think it's the wrong
stats. No. I think that's right.
Because according to that, that's what it says. We've got 33% possession.
No, it's the other way around.
We were at home.
Don't worry about it.
I'll come back.
Right. I mean, from my perspective, we were a little bit impotent up front. We dominated the play in general. The chances that they kind of had. You just counter-attack chances where you think we're just a little bit culpable. But I think that's what comes when you're 0-0 against a team like that you should be leading against. And you're pushing every man up. And, for corners and things like that, we got done on the counter-attack a couple of times where they created stuff. But we looked pretty... I mean, Ramsdale didn't look like he was going to get beaten by anything, you know what I mean? There was a corner where, he didn't quite get the hand on it and we got it out, but they didn't seem. I don't think they had like much of the game, but just so you know, we actually had 20 shots in, and we had 5 on target.
Where did I get that? That was what's the last game you played?
That was the last one.
I think that was the last game you played.
I think that's Liverpool. Yeah, that looks exactly like the Liverpool game.
Yeah,
but and I thought there were a couple of chances, like that. On another day, there was one where Sacco just put it wide of the post. Ødegaard, it was a good save from the keeper, and we had there was a couple of little ping pong moments where we just couldn't seem to get it in. For me, that was 100% a red card. And I tried to be as objective as possible. A couple of weeks ago, when Xhaka, put the studs in on a Leeds player, I said to you, didn't I? I think it's a red because. Yeah. And we wouldn't have got that given against us.
It's what Ars blog called the Xhaka index.
Yeah,
and that was Xhaka doing that challenge. In fact, any Arsenal player, they would have got sent off. But
it's just 100%. It's like what, in terms of like the definition of what constitutes a definite red card: studs up, high tackle, stamping, all of those things. Where he was late.
Also, I think he was still on a yellow at the time.
No, that was what he got the yellow for, and then 2 minutes later, he elbowed Gabriel in the face, and it was just like it's just such an obvious elbow that it's kind of like.
Coming back to you on it, Ollie, then, and back to Adam. I mean, this had to be one of the most controversial refereing decision weekend. I mean, if you go through it, you had United scoring with the very last kick of the game. I just want to. Have I got this? The picture.
We know your hatred for Man United, Ian.
Yeah, I'm just saying. Okay, versus. So United won with the last kick of the game, and to be fair, I've seen lots and lots of different angles, and you could argue it from every single angle. But what about this for Jota's second goal against Palace? Undoubtedly, that penalty that Liverpool got right towards the end, I think it was the 89th minute against Palace. Even Gary Lineker said it was absolutely outrageous. But that was the second goal. And remember, Palace were pouring back in the second half. I mean, I'll show you some stats that are definitely right later. And the first half for Palace was abysmal. But Palace really gave it some in the second half. So let's say that second goal had been caught out for offside. I mean, on those decisions... I think
the difficulty with like a goal like that as well, and it's like it goes back to the rules and the interpretation of the rules, that the offside one specifically, and has always been contentious because there's always so much to do with interpretation. I think the issue is now is that every rule seems to be, it's no longer objective. Every rule is as subjective as the offside rule. So when you see that's Jota, Oxlade-Chamberlain scored the second, didn't he? Jota's in the offside position. They'll argue that he's not the player that received the ball, but I don't know how you can argue that he's not interfering with play when he's completely pulling that defender out. And like, that's the issue with so many of the decisions. And because I think as fans, we accept that it's subjective, and it swings around.
I preferred it when there was last season. It was like, if it was a toenail, it was offside. Like, I was happy with that because there was like,
that was black or white. That was black or white, wasn't it?
Exactly. But now
it's subjective again.
Yeah, they shouldn't have changed that, because then at least you're right. It's definitely offside. Whereas
I
now
think it's like clear and obvious error when you're talking about VAR being there to stop or overturn a clear and obvious error. If there's like a pubes width in it, then it's not clear and obvious. So you've got to let the decision stand, and that should be the rule. It's easier to accept, isn't it?
Also, Adam, you'll know this because you do a lot of video editing and that. Like when it's at pace, I think there was a Sterling one that was really harsh last season. But if you look at when you go frame by frame, it still doesn't do it any justice.
You can't see the actual contact moment of the ball.
Yeah.
Now, I've thought this myself when I've seen different replays that I've looked at, and I thought the ball's not left his foot there, or the ball has, it's like a couple of frames after.
Yeah.
And within those two frames, a player's limb can then be offside. And I think that's...
You can play it in both ways. If it's played in a different way, then it looks different to each way. So depending on which way they're going to look at it, then it changes. And then you're just like...
Here's an interesting one for you. I was in deep discussion with a Middlesbrough fan today, and I didn't realise just plugging this power lead back in. I didn't realise the critical issue facing Derby County, and that is that Derby County, because of their illegal overspend, are being sued for 40 million by Middlesbrough, who would have made, I think, a playoff place if I get it right. So Steve Gibson is suing Derby for 40 million. That's why no one can take over the club, and they could get liquefied. And Wycombe Wanderers got relegated by the fact that, and they're claiming also in terms of the fact that Derby's overspend cost them millions of pounds, and those two clubs are suing it. So look, bear with me.
So shouldn't we have sued Man City then when you did the same thing to the whole of the Premier League?
Well, in the eyes of the law, they were still in.
No such thing as financial fair play.
Yeah, but what I was trying to say was, on those split decisions, thereby lies millions and millions of pounds. So let's say United got that decision given, and you could have gone either way. Now that decision, those 2 points there could have utterly determined whether they make the top four at the end of the season. Just a thought on that very total decision. Or, Liverpool's 2 games against Palace, could they rein City in? Or tell you what, that won't half have helped. And I would be really interested in your view on this last one. See if you've got any sympathy. Did you see? Now, one side of the argument is you have Harry Kane bearing down on goal, and he has got Thiago Silva, who's a wonderful god of a defender, but he's got him for pace. Now, one side of the coin says Thiago Silva goes down theatrically, does Spurs like a kipper, and he gets the foul on him, and Kane's goal's disallowed in the first half. The other side of the coin says he completely conned the referee. He'd been outstripped by Harry Kane, and he just went over with just a little bit of pressure. Now, on the basis of that, if Spurs had scored first, that could have been a wholly different game. Let's say the referee had decided it was a dive by Silva or a foul in the area by Silva. There could have been a saving, possibly even sending off in that situation.
No, I thought it was a clear push. It was just you just pushed him.
The thing is, though, I've got a couple of different views on this. Firstly, it's funny because it's Tottenham, and Kane as well is like, he's always diving, so it's nice to see. Well, it's not nice to see because it's like the integrity of the game, but it doesn't seem unjust against Kane. What I think, though, is that, again, it's the consistency. I remember a few seasons back where Alonso, I think it was Alonso for Chelsea, scored a header. In doing so, he went through Bellerin with an elbow. Bellerin was unconscious, didn't even know that a goal had been scored, and the goal was given as not as a foul, because then it's like, oh, you're weak. And it's just that attitude. Certain players, certain defenders, I can guarantee you, if that was an Arsenal defender, Rob Holding, it would have been, oh, what a mess he's made of that there.
Yeah, it would have been 100%. It'd be like, oh, why is he so weak?
The push is weak, but I can think of games where I've played, and obviously it's not the same level, but I can think of games where I've played where I've gone up for a head and I've just put my hand out and I don't even feel like I'm pushing someone, but I've had the foul given against me because it's a push, and I can think, I did put my hand on him, that's what the ref's seen. He does go down really weakly for a guy who's as hard as him.
Again, as a Champions League place.
Oh, 100%.
Why is Conte
could have made or broken the Champions League?
I've been saying it for seasons.
Why
if
is Conte
Spurs had won there, if Spurs had won that game there, and Chelsea,
they were never going to win that game. If Conte shouldn't be bringing that stuff up, and that's why I quite like Arteta, because all of the crap that's gone on with us this season, he never comes out and goes, "Wow, that was disgraceful." But all these other managers do. Klopp loves it. Klopp loves moaning about referees and decisions. And I prefer a manager that just takes it on the chin and goes, well, that's the way of the game, isn't it?
I think we've learned from Wenger that it doesn't actually help to do it, does it? You know, Wenger's been one of the most outspoken critics of the referees in terms of the way that the whole body works. You know, he's made comparisons to them and the Italian league being the only leagues that have professional referees. And that was the season that none of the English referees were taken to the World Cup. There was some implication to say we all know what happened in Italy with the referees and how corrupt they were, and that there was match fixing going on. I'm not saying whether that's the case, but there are definitely similarities. So I think Arteta's probably learned his lesson to go, well, part of the reason I believe this is a purely subjective, argument. I believe that part of the reason we have suffered under referees is because of comments that Wenger's made. I feel like they've, in the past, and the fact that he called them out, the fact that we were always renowned for surrounding the referee and putting pressure on them to change decisions. I think all of that's just come full circle now. And I like to think that if it is, it's not as deep as corruption, maybe it is just bias against us for those historical reasons. But the more and more it happens, and as you say, with the money side of things and how, and as I say, I've been saying it for seasons, that a referee, and because being Arsenal and always finishing fourth those seasons, that specifically the season when Leicester won the league, there's the real league table that, says if all the refereeing decisions were right where people would finish. And that's the table that most of the other clubs use, rather than the actual table. Like for their statistics, they look at the true league tables where they account the the refereeing mistakes. Arsenal would have had much higher finishes in the Premier League throughout Wenger's last few years if it wasn't for refereeing decisions. So there is a lot of money in it, and that's why for me it's been frustrating, because that one red card, like there's been seasons where we've lost 10 points purely on referees' decisions, and seasons where 10 points has been the difference between us being sixth and being third. Do you know what I mean? So definitely it's a huge thing. The impact is huge.
I remember about 20 years ago. Sorry, I'm going to be really good. When Man City had a chance of getting a European place, I think it was a UEFA Cup place or whatever, and it depended on a penalty in the last 5 minutes of the very final game. And the penalty for Man City was taken by Robbie Fowler, and the bastard kicked it right over the bar into the back of the stand. I'll never forgive him for that. But anyway, I've got you know last week when we were chatting on Ollie on your six of one show, and you two were concerned that Arsenal were always being, to an extent, victimised by the guys complaining about COVID, etc. And you know I'm going to throw this question to you. So you've got
your flag's gone.
That's the ghost of Arsenal past. They put it coming. They're just like
it's just about to rinse us.
So Arsenal have taken loads of criticism for cancelling the games, yeah, and all those Spurs.
We still are getting the criticism.
Yeah, the Spurs fans have given you loads of stick. So I noticed in the last couple of days that Man City, who haven't cancelled a game. Getting a bit of echo here, but Man City, who haven't cancelled the game, been very careful about COVID throughout, etc. Yeah, they cancelled a big money trip to Abu Dhabi because they were concerned that if you had all the players and backroom staff together on one plane and all together in the same hotel, there was a massive risk for COVID. So Pep cancelled it and said, no, go to your individual families so we dilute the risk of having COVID. What are Arsenal doing over the next 2 weeks? They're having a big boys trip to Dubai. What's going on?
Well, we need it because we don't have two squads like you. So we need to keep the players in some kind of condition because other than the top 11 that play, we ain't got much of a squad. So
violins. But I mean, do you not think you're cruising?
You have a big squad. You have a bigger squad.
Them all into a plane. Do you not think they're cruising for a bruising catching?
I mean, the perspective is like in a wider societal perspective, then yeah, it's probably not the wisest thing to do. You know, like there's loads of restrictions on different things. You know, not to get political again. Government, you know, getting rid of all restrictions and stuff. Things are going to be different. You know, so yeah. There's different attitudes on what should be done. I don't necessarily think it's the wisest thing to do, but in terms of people's attitude towards us, it's like people hate us. Like us not going to Dubai and making sure the team, you know, the wellness of the team is a concern. It isn't going to change the way people feel about us. So I think it's just got, you know, they've just got to do what's best for them at the end of the day, like all other clubs do. But everyone's going to hate us either way. I've accepted that. You know, it doesn't change the way I feel.
Hey, Rick. Hi, how you doing? We were just discussing, and I don't know where a 6 of 1 show's come up as a picture.
There you go. It's the 6 of 1.
I think you're on the wrong link, but anyway, whatever. We're having a good time. So we were discussing the fact that Arsenal have decided to go to Dubai with all their players, despite the COVID risk, while Man City have split everybody up and send them on the individual families. To me, that sounds like the Boris Johnson school of naive politics, really.
Your flag's falling down again.
Flag's gone again. But anyway, we'll carry on. I wanted to start the games off. Interested in your opinion. It seems Friday night, Watford 0, Norwich 3. Another sending off there, yeah? So it almost seems that if your team is so crap, they lose to Norwich, who are awful. The manager gets fired, yeah? So Benitez and now Ranieri. So who's going to go in at Watford? Who's going to go in at Everton? Thoughts, chaps? Rick, do you want to lead this one?
Yeah, well, Rick, you can start, mate. Because
who's going to Everton? Who's going to Watford? Hang on, he's on mute. Ollie, take over.
I don't have a clue. I really don't. I mean, who's out there anymore?
Allardyce. Is Allardyce coming?
It's going to be the same handful of names that are linked with all the jobs, though, isn't it? Like always, there's going to be a few. One will go there. I still think, you know, Rooney's looking at what's happened with Derby, you know, like the game with Forest at the weekend as well. I think Rooney's probably the best shout for Everton. Whether that's a case if that's going to be an immediate appointment or whether they're going to get someone to steady the ship until then. But I think that, yeah, in light of what looks like what's going to happen at Derby, I think it would be inevitable that Rooney is going to go to West Ham. Sound like David Cameron. Going to go to Everton. Watford, I don't know. Like they've been a weird one with managers, haven't they? Like real revolving door club with managers there. Like it's I'm not sure with the ownership as well. Like, be interesting to see who's like.
They'll do a caretaker, maybe get an Allardyce in or someone who can possibly crack the whip for the last few games. I can't think of anyone else.
Fabio Cannavaro is currently the bookies' favourite.
For Everton or Watford?
For Watford.
Cannavaro going to Watford.
Never even heard of him.
Yeah, you have. He's the captain of Italy when they won the World Cup.
He's a manager now, is he?
Well, I believe he's managed the top team in Japan and something in the Middle East. So
I thought he didn't have hair, though. I thought he didn't have hair. I thought
he's grown it back. He's thrown it back.
Wasn't he the guy that Zidane headbutted?
No, that was
Maserati.
Maserati. Yeah, Maserati.
Materazzi.
Materazzi.
Yeah.
Or was that paparazzi? Paparazzi or Materazzi? Yeah. But yeah, he got headbutted. Nothing to do with Cannelloni or Cannavaro. But yeah, he did win the World Cup. He was the captain. He's an awesome player. He's like the Thiago Silva of Italy, really. Rick, Watford and Everton, any thoughts?
I think it'd be great to see. I mean, it's been a while since Big Sam's had a team, and he's kind of been out for a good 2-3 years now. What was his last appointment?
Didn't he get someone relegated last year for the first time?
West Brom?
Yeah.
West Brom, yeah.
Oh, was he? Yeah.
He was at West Brom last year.
He did quite well for a while because they were completely dead. They nearly came back, but they ended up going down in the end, didn't they?
I think that's the first time he's done it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Everyone's like, I'll keep him up, but
yeah,
nice to see him take a team down. But yeah,
I mean, I don't know. You know, he's a bit of an old man now with lack of energy. I mean, he's still 10 years younger than Joe Biden, but you know, I mean,
who's Joe Biden?
Ollie, don't do politics.
Joe Biden to manage Watford, you reckon? No, about not.
Yeah, he's in the list. He's at number 3, actually. Never heard of him. Does he have hair?
Not much.
Not much.
But
no, actually, I do know who Joe Biden is.
Yeah, right, okay. So
no, I think I do.
Cannavaro is.
Is he the president now? Is he the president?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He is. Hilarious.
Rick, anyway, it's Rick. It's Fulham o'clock, and just to get you going, look at this.
It is a thing of beauty. Absolute thing of beauty.
And a tough game that Fulham came back. But I mean, how many goals have they scored in the last 4 or 5 games?
I think it's 17, 16, 17
in
last
4
games.
games.
They've had 2 6s and a 7, haven't they?
Yeah, 2 6s and a 7, and
3-2 win over Stoke at the weekend.
Yeah, and who's the manager of Stoke? He used to manage Northern Ireland. Michael
O'Neill.
Michael O'Neill. Good guy, good manager, and that was a tough game. Tough game at Stoke, yeah. Wasn't it Wright Phillips' son scored the first goal for Stoke?
Well, it depends on which Wright Phillips you're referring to. I guess it's Ian Wright's grandson.
I think it's Sean Wright Phillips' son.
Sean Wright Phillips' son.
Goal.
Oh, Christ, that's a way to make you feel old, that, isn't it? Like the third generation of Wrights. Like
they were all in an advert together once for the Wii or something last Christmas, and it was like mental.
That is crazy, though, isn't it?
So, Rick, tell us, Fulham. So, what's driving it all? Well, that's on the sword.
They're I think the extended break they had from courtesy of all the COVID cancellations over the Christmas period really seemed to have invigorated them. I mean, Mitro was absent last week against Stoke, and it's not quite clear why, but he was missing. And Munez, the Brazilian lad, really picked up the slack.
He scored the first 2, didn't he?
He scored the first goal, and I think he assisted on the second. And he wanted to claim the third, but it was not clear if he got a touch on it or not. Would have been a shoelace if he did, but.
It was given. And Fulham have got this impressive young lad, Carvalho, who Liverpool is sticking around, 19-year-old superstar. Is he that good? I heard a report calling him the Jude Bellingham of West London. Is that an exaggeration?
Well, you know, this is the thing about the Championship. It makes decent players look phenomenal. And then when they get to the Premier, Mitrovic is a perfect example of this. You know, he's on 27 goals over 26 games. 24 games. Forget the exact number that he's played, but he's scoring more than a goal a game that he plays in. And then when he gets to the Prem, I think in the Prem 2 seasons ago, he was he got 3 goals all season. So
do you think that's partly to do with the way that teams change the way they set up in the Premier League, though? Whereas you see like certain teams come up, even Brentford with Tony, they've come up and they've tried to play the sort of same way, and he still seems to be scoring like a decent amount for like a player that's been sort of, come up promoting. I think like part of the problem is, I don't know what Fulham are playing like now, but considering what they were playing like when last time they're in the Premier League, it looks with the amount of goals that they're scoring that they're playing a lot more open and, a lot more attacking. Where if, they've obviously, I'd be surprised if they don't come up or at least make the playoffs, the position they're in. You'd hope, especially as a Fulham fan, you'd hope, that they would after, sort of making this ground at this point in the season. But it'd be interesting to see what they do, whether they still play the same game or like. So I think that's, for me, that's what always defines a team that's successful when they come up. Like, I think they just carry on doing the same thing and don't try and change the mantra, because that's essentially what's kind of got them there, isn't it?
Well, Fulham, the sad thing about Fulham is they change completely. I actually really like them in the Championship because they do play a more open, more expansive game. They suffer a bit on the back. But they've actually got a decent defense for the first time in about 6 years now, and a great goalkeeper as well.
Tosin Adebayo, the guy from Man City, has been there all season, hasn't he? He's a regular now at the back, and he's still about 22. Yeah. He's a good player.
Are they loanees then, are they?
No. They saw Fulham bought Adebayo, I want to think, at least a year ago, maybe 2.
What about Cavallo from Liverpool? Is he a...
No. He's a Fulham player. Liverpool won him.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's I didn't know whether he'd.
I just hope Fulham, if they do get promoted, do that great thing, and they just go and buy any of the players that used to be good.
You had to go there.
And sign up all these players.
A Kocha, though. I'd still take a Kocha in my team any day of the week.
Talking about old players, you know how Liverpool have taken the piss out of Rafa Benitez, calling him Agent Benitez, for scuppering Everton. Soon they'll be describing Scotty Parker as Agent Parker over there at Bournemouth, making sure they don't go up.
Yeah,
he's struggling, old Scotty Parker. Now I know they've had a lot of injuries, but Bournemouth, I reckon they're going to lose that second place. There's teams like Blackburn starting to motor there.
I feel like he's one of those guys that you'd want to do well as well, but I just don't know whether he's got it. Do you know what I mean?
He might be a bit nice, but I hope he has, because he plays gorgeous football. Look at this. So you've got Blackburn there, right on their tail. QPR, who are playing solidly as well, who are doing well. But again, it's tight.
Forest are looking pretty solid as well. Like I think they're a good shout for the playoffs.
They've got who's the lad who was at Swansea? He's really good guy. The manager who went to Forest after Chris Hughton. They're in the bottom 3. Went in there. Oh, come on.
Something in it.
No, he'll come back to me.
Joe Biden.
You should remember that. They did you the other week.
Yeah, with Steve Cooper
against Arsenal.
Try not to remember anything about that game.
I just googled it. It's Steve Cooper. Is that what you mean?
Steve Cooper. Yeah, good manager, future Premier League manager. I have no doubt.
It seems he's had a really big impact since he came in, and I think they've got really good records. So got some good players on their line as well.
And I like Chris Hughton, and I thought he'd make a really good go at Forest. I was surprised that he failed there, because that must be the only club he's ever failed at, really, because he was the one who put the structure into Brighton. And remember when he lost his job at Newcastle, they were playing really well when Mike Ashley took over. But there you go. Let's have a quick look at Saturday's results apart from what we talked about. I did watch the first game, Everton-Aston Villa, and I thought Everton were massively improved. Villa got that goal just before half-time. It was a hell of a header by Buendia, one of the smallest players on the park, and he turned and headed this ball across there. But again, in newspapers I was reading, people were reckoning, much as they didn't want to, they reckon Steven Gerrard could be a superstar manager of the future. What's your thoughts, guys? Any views on Villa, Everton?
think it's a bit early yet to say he's a superstar manager. The amount of money that Aston Villa have spent, then he already had a really good set of team there, and they're still buying players. It just goes to show that, you know, if you do buy the right kind of players, you're going to do all right. I mean, but Everton, they won't go down, but you might as well write their season off already. Villa, I mean, how high can they go?
Really? Well, I think, you know, like the players that Villa have brought in, you know, they have like Coutinho. He's a massive coup for them, you know, just for the season, and that he's on loan, isn't he? But I mean, he's a great player. Like from there, you know, of a team of Villa's ilk, you know, who are trying to get to the next level, he's a great signing. Whether, you know, Steven Gerrard's a superstar manager, I think it relates to what I was saying a few weeks back on one of Ollie's shows, that, you know, certain managers are of the generation that those players that they're managing would have, you know, it's a terrible way to construct a sentence, I apologize, but they would have been like role models for the players now, because it's like generational. So whereas your Mourinho's and that we were saying are maybe like dinosaurs, someone like of Steven Gerrard's ilk, he's probably going to understand those players. He's probably going to be able to get the best out of them and like command a certain level of respect. And it looks like the club are investing the right way and they're willing to spend a lot of money. So he'll get time. Whether he'll actually do anything, you know, remains to be seen. But if they continue to go this way and spend this money, then he's only going to get a certain amount of time before there are going to be some higher expectations for him, I think.
Yeah. I can't see West Ham or Villa making the top four. But I tell you what I can think. I can see them being the thorn in the side of some of those top four aspirational teams. You know, Spurs, United, Arsenal, you know, even City, Chelsea, Liverpool. If they have to play West Ham or Villa, they won't like it, and that's where upsets will happen. Rick, sorry.
Well, no, I was just on the Villa thread there. I mean, what kind of aspirations do you think that they really have to where they can get to? Because you mentioned, you know, the timing. You know, that with the money comes time and comes pressure, and that's where a lot of these managers seem to fall apart. Especially the younger ones. But you know, it's are they ever going to be even a Europa Cup team? You know?
I think they've definitely got a potential to get into the Europa in the next few years. I think in terms of pressure, I think that's where someone like Gerrard will understand it, because, you know, he obviously he's always a performer, you know, in terms of the way that he played individually. He probably didn't win as much as he should have, and he probably would have won a lot more if he went elsewhere. But in terms of having the right mentality, I don't think, you know, like love him or hate him, I don't think you could ever question that Gerrard had the right work ethic and the right mentality to be as good as he was. And hopefully, if he can like impart that on some of the younger players, then I do see that they have got like a decent few years ahead of them. But again, it's just, is this going to be more investment, or are they just spending the Jack Grealish money, you know?
He's going to be a transfer pull as well. You know, he's young players are going to want to go and play for Steven Gerrard. He's still a bit of a living legend in most of their lifetime. It was interesting. I read an article yesterday, I think it was Sunday Times, on Wayne Rooney, and there'd been this reporter who'd gone behind the scenes at Derby, etc. And apparently he was incredibly impressive as a manager. You know, this guy, whether it's his counselling with the young players, whether it's the way he approaches his man management skills, you know, he sleeps on the couch at the club. You know, they were talking about how he's, you know, taken all the pressure, the fans group, how his number. This article was full of the abilities that, I hate to say it, Wayne Rooney. In his potential. I think it's only a matter of time before, I don't know, Watford and Everton or someone of that ilk goes, yeah, let's take a punt on him.
But is he sleeping on the couch at the training ground because Colleen's kicked him out?
It wouldn't surprise me. Yeah.
I agree with Ricky. If you sleep on the couch, it doesn't necessarily mean that's a good thing.
Yeah, he's probably got a few dodgy.
I think as well, it's like it's all to do with like, you know, what it goes so far beyond. It's like the culture of the club. You know, I can only speak for Arsenal, but we always had, especially under Wenger, like the idea that your intelligence in terms of not just being able to, you know, play football and understand the game, but your wider intelligence was always a really big consideration. Now, I don't know whether all clubs have got that sort of thing, but I can imagine with a more northern team that are a little bit more sort of feet on the ground, just get stuck in. I think Rooney's going to have that sort of effect, because I can't imagine that he's the most articulate or tactical person.
Yeah,
Maybe I'm wrong,
but not a little bit of academic snobbery from Arsene Wenger there. I'm certain, Sir Alex Ferguson would give him a kick in the Rolex for that. I'm not certain he would go with that at all. I don't know. I'm not sure. Let's romp into the other games. I mean, Brentford Wolves, that was another refereeing shambles or difficult one. The game was delayed for ages with a drone. And then if I read right, about 20 minutes, they came out from halftime 20 minutes after all the other games. And then the referee wasn't mic'd up properly for the next 5-10 minutes. It sounded like a bit of a shambles there.
Yeah.
But again, and
what
then,
was the drone doing?
It was flying over the game. And they reviewed it.
So with the film thing again, I had this exact same conversation. It's like, why does a drone stop a game? And my brother-in-law is a cameraman as well, does a lot of stuff, and he was saying it's all to do with rights. It's got nothing to do with danger or safety or anything. It's just those companies like ITV. He filmed something like the UNICEF thing, went to put a drone up, just got stopped straight away. They're like, it's our rights. The game, you can film everything else. It's our rights, So I think that's the problem with the drones over games, is all to do with like the rights. I don't necessarily think it's to do with safety.
I'm assuming it was just some geezer outside the
ground.
Yeah,
it's going to be, isn't it? But like they're restricted over football stadiums though, and certain places. So,
and they're right next to Heathrow there.
Yeah, well, as well, like since the whole Christmas Gatwick debacle. Yeah. Now, like I've got one sitting here, like a drone. Like certain times you can't.
It wasn't you, Adam. Was
I was putting money on the game. I needed Wolves to win. No, but yeah, like
just a humdinger of a game. The manager was sent off with 2 yellow cards afterwards. It was actually quite amusing. I listened to him, and he claims. He said, the referee gave him a yellow card, so he turned around and he said, well, you might as well give me another one then as well, and he did. Well, that's what he claimed. He just kind of brought it on, and the referee called his bluff and gave him the second yellow and gave him a red card.
Who's that, Farker?
Yeah.
He's losing it a bit at the moment, though, isn't he? He's going a bit cuckoo. When
we look at the Premier League bottom, Brentford, they are by no means safe. Their form over the last 10 games is not great. They're falling away. Which brings us on to, that next game. Look at Leeds and Newcastle. That Leeds 0, Newcastle 1. That was
such a soft goal as well, wasn't it?
It was. John Joe Shelby's kind of little curl. Dreadful goalkeeping. Bloody dreadful goalkeeping. That.
But I think Leeds, Bielsa's too good a manager to go down. That would be a shame, because they're a team that I think have done it the right way. They've come up, they've continued to play with the same philosophy, and they're a big club. So it would be a shame to see them go down, I think. I definitely want Burnley to go down after the weekend. But
when you look at it, then keep the conversation going. Burnley are now rock bottom with games in hand. Watford, God knows how they could have. I suppose they could appoint Frank Lampard, but surely he wouldn't be stupid enough to go there. I just have no idea who Watford are going to appoint. Maybe it'll be just someone we've never heard of, but they look in trouble. Newcastle, every time they sign a player, they seem to get another player injured. I think they had 2 or 3 players, including Joe Linton going off injured again. And, they're not quite exactly bringing him a lot. Trippier was man of the match. But
I'd love to see him go down again, but I don't know. I think Newcastle are just going to scrape it. And then I think it's going to be a whole new world next season. I think they're going to stay up and go crazy this summer. And then it'll be Newcastle, Man City for the title following season.
We'll see. We're
going to win the league next season, mate. We're going to win the league.
Yeah,
we're going to sneak
in. But it is. I mean, if Newcastle get out of that, someone else has got to fall into that bottom 3. But will it just be Norwich, Watford, and Burnley?
I mean, I can't see Norwich. Like the performance, everyone kind of went mental about it. The goal was really nice finish. Like people were saying it was good as Giroud's. I don't think it's as good as Giroud's, to be honest, but it was a lovely finish. But then that's just like a one-off. Can you see, against Watford? It's a 6-pointer.
Let's look. What else went on?
Rick, you've been relegated. Who do you think is going to go down?
Well,
we mentioned United West Ham, last kick of the game. I mean, last kick of the game. It was. And it was just, we've got to look at it again and just go, you lucky bastards. It could have gone either way, that. It could have gone either way. But being the last kick of the game, imagine you were playing them and that last kick of the game, there's no comeback, there's not even a kickoff. Pretty shitty, that, isn't it? But there you go. Let's have a look. Anyway, I'm conscious of time here. Let's have a look at Sunday. Or let's not look at the first game. I do want to discuss Palace Liverpool. Palace Liverpool. We mentioned earlier, Rick, before you were on, though, that I thought I had some stats on this one. Perhaps not. The first goal went in for Liverpool, and Liverpool were utterly dominant in that fight, the first half. But the second goal, this is how far Jota was offside for that goal. Was he interfering with play? You've got to be from there. And then the penalty for the third goal for Liverpool just wasn't. It just wasn't. Again, and Palace had a much, much better second half. I know that Ali, my mate from Palace, who was there at the game, just said, they deserve something out of the game. But
it certainly deserved to beat Liverpool. It's never nice seeing them win, particularly in those kind of circumstances. Just emboldens their lot, which it's just awful when that happens.
I think about who got the stats, and to be fair to Liverpool, they were incredibly dominant in the first half. It was something like 70% possession in the first half. And if you look at that, to be fair to Liverpool, 14 shots, 7 on target, 5 corners. They were the superior team. I know we're rude, we're going on about the decisions and the breaks, but listening to Ali, my Palace mate, Liverpool were very, very dominant in that first half. They hit out of the blocks and gave Palace.
You can be dominant, can't you? Arsenal were totally dominant at Burnley, and we didn't get anything. We didn't get the decisions go for us, and obviously we didn't have the cutting edge, but we dominated them. I think that's like the point I was making earlier with decisions going for certain teams and bigger teams. And not to say that was always for Liverpool, because it's they do get a lot go against them as well, but it seems that could have been a 1-1 draw on a different day of officiating,
Yeah, sorry, I was just looking for some. It's the Palace stats I've got. I didn't have the Cities. I mean, you're right. Arsenal, Arteta's been to the Pep school of football, and City, drew with Southampton with 70% possession. So it's just one of those. You
were unlucky as well, though. I think on a different officiating day, that's a 3-1 win for City, though, isn't it? Because things didn't go your way. That in a mirror game of the Liverpool game, the 2 other decisions went their way. They didn't go City's way this time. There was 2 big decisions there.
It's that unless you have a really good nippy number 9, trying to break down well-organised regimental teams like Southampton and Burnley, you struggle. Arsenal didn't have a nippy striker. You may not have seen, if you didn't see the City game, what a sitter Sterling missed. From Phil Foden. And it was almost like he didn't know what to do with it.
He had so much time as well. Yeah. And I think 9 times out of 10, he's done the right thing. He's just tried to wrong foot the keeper. But when you don't get that right, you're kind of like, you've got so much time and so much of the goal to aim for. Just put it in. He I don't think he was expecting to get it, but still 6 yards out. You've got to finish that. And
you've got to say a quality number 9 would have broken Southampton down for City in the same way a quality number 9 for Arsenal would have done the same against Burnley. Looks like the lad from Florentina isn't coming. Anybody else teed up for Arsenal?
No, I think what I was looking at today was saying there's a couple like a Calvert-Lewin, and then there's, I can't think who the other guy was who was on our radar, but saying that Eddie's gone for the thing of going, we've got these guys that we want, but we want to go for the big. And I think that if that's what he goes for at the end of the window, if we end up with Calvert-Lewin or another decent striker, then I think you have to commend Edu for saying, he has aimed big. He's tried to go for the best player he could, and he's got backups. If we don't end up with anyone, then you have to maybe look at his policy and think, what has he been doing?
I saw West Ham linked with him, 60 million.
That's crazy. It's crazy, though.
Money's just wrong.
No, but even in terms of like for me, like
the Florentine
you can't be choosing West Ham over Arsenal at this point. You know, in terms of what the club is offering, they've got a good position at the minute. West Ham would be competing for one season, you know, where they've looked like they're up there. The draw, and I'm not just being biased because it's Arsenal. It's like for me, it's the same as saying like even Tottenham, going to Tottenham or West Ham. As much as it pains me to say, you've got to be thinking a player like that. If they're choosing between that, they're going to choose Tottenham because they've got more history in terms of the Champions League qualification being there, what they're actually going to offer you. So I'll be surprised if it's West Ham.
Everton won't sell Calvert-Lewin. No way.
I would be surprised. I mean, Aubameyang, is he going? Is he going to the Middle East on loan?
He's done, mate. He's done. He won't go to the Middle East.
Who's going to play number 9 for the rest of the season? Lacazette?
No, we don't. We just wave goodbye to the top 4. We don't. I'd take Mitrovic from bloody Fulham.
I feel like for me at the minute, there's room to move Martinelli into that role. I think he's a great striker. I think he's capable enough to play centrally. I think that then, you know, maybe do we move Smith out to the right and still?
I say play Pepe. Play Pepe up front.
Yeah, why not? Why not? We've got him. We've paid the money for him. He's not going anywhere. You know, might as well do it. But I do think Martinelli's got the quality to play centrally.
Was it Jurgen Klopp commenting on how good Martinelli was?
He's brilliant. No, he is brilliant. Like, I mean,
he does a bit of mind games, doesn't he? When he fancies the player Klopp,
he's been doing it to Saka as well, hasn't he?
Yeah,
like, it lacks class, you know, but Martinelli is brilliant. Like he is. I think he's like. His control taking down long balls over his head. The amount of times I've seen him just kill the ball dead out the air in a really tight position. It's.
I know it was a losing game for Arsenal against Liverpool in the league and the League Cup, but Martinelli was great that game, back, forward, etc.
Yeah, and he always looks at just like the work rate, the desire to be involved, the desire to make something happen, not being shot shy, even when it might not be the best decision. I like that hunger to after Lacazette missed that sitter at the weekend against Burnley. Or yesterday, was it yesterday? It was only yesterday, it was like years ago. You know, Martinelli got the ball up. First thing he did was try and cut in, had a shot, you know, didn't quite come off, but I like that attitude of going, right, he's missed, we'll go for the throat. You know, we need that.
He's gifted. I tell you what, I saw Declan Rice making a few nice noises to United over the weekend. Don't like that. He's bloody good, is Declan Rice. So what else went on? Leicester Brighton, 2 good teams, 1-1 draw there. And then we had the Chelsea Tottenham. You know, everything I saw about that game, and I saw about 2/3 of it, Chelsea were really good, really dominant. I still wonder, though, if that Kane decision in the first half had gone the other way, what would have happened? And I still felt Lukaku was a bit of a sack. Just a bit of a lump.
Yeah, the goals, though. The first goal was divine. You know, you dream of hitting a ball like that. Like, he was all like, you know, that guy is it Ziyech or Ziyech? I don't know.
Yeah, and he scored a blinder 2 weeks ago as well.
Yeah, I mean, like a couple of seasons ago, he was like real hot property. He came to Chelsea, obviously looked talented, but hasn't really hit the strides that you'd expect him to. Yeah. But that goal is, you can't, you know, he had another shot as well that was just, the way he strikes the ball is just absolutely beautiful. But
it's a bit of a Riyad Mahrez, isn't he?
Yeah, very similar sort of player. So even if I can't think who he reminds me a bit of Henrik Larsson as well, like just like the way he looks and stuff, and like how he's like physicality, the way he runs. But and maybe even shades of Ibrahimovic, you know, and just like his control and striking. But it's that left-footed thing as well, isn't it? You know, left-footed players always just seem to have such a great technique when they can hit them.
It was great. It was a great day because obviously. I got so many messages on Thursday night, and I said, just wait till Sunday, all right? Let's wait till Sunday. And it was brilliant because now we're above them, even though we're on the same points. And they don't say anything. This is what I love about Spurs, is they give it all a mouth. Right? Lyndon was saying to us the other day that they have a bigger derby. And I'm like, seriously, that's what you're arguing against. That Spurs Chelsea's a bigger derby. It's like, you know what I mean? And then when they get beat, they go quiet. And there's just like they've got nothing to say. It was brilliant. I loved it. And I said we're shit and we drew 0-0, but we're still above you, which is great.
With a game in hand. Well, we'll see. We'll see. So the last question I've got the whole day is, and maybe Rick can give us the answer on this, is, I mean, what's going on here? What is going on? We have 2 weeks now. There's no internationals in Europe. The only games on are South American World Cup qualifiers, the culmination of the African AFCON tournament, which will be exciting on the telly. I'll watch a little bit of that. And the Championship, Rick. We're all going to support Fulham. I think it's the Fulham away at Blackpool or at home to Blackpool. I think that's the only game I've got to look forward to in the next 2 weeks.
Well, the great thing will be is that Fulham will probably put conservatively 5 goals past them, at least. So they'll watch. Let in 2 or 3 as well, but that's the glory of the Championship as well. But it'll be I'm optimistic for the plight of the Whites. I mean, they haven't quite hit exit velocity just yet, but yeah, hopefully the league will be home and hosed by the middle end of March.
Saturday the 29th of January, Fulham Blackpool. We've got some Championship games on Tuesday 25th, Wednesday 26th, Friday 28th. And that's it. And the first game back in the Premier League, Saturday the 5th of February. We've got to wait for Burnley, Watford. You guys, Arsenal, you're not even playing until the 10th. Is that right?
We need time to get back from our jolly in Dubai.
I need a reset as well. It's been a tough month. It's not been a nice month.
We've
had more red cards than we've had goals.
That's 3 weeks away.
Yeah, I'll take that.
But then it's going to get bonkers.
I'm going to become a Fulham fan like Rick. I'm going to be a Fulham fan.
I'm Wrexham. I'm Wrexham while Arsenal are off now. It's my
right. If you're following Wrexham, I'm following Fulham with you.
Come on, you White.
Watch Fulham hammer Blackpool. Ollie, who's your adopted championship team then?
It was always Fulham.
Right.
Because I work in Putney, I work in Putney, so I'm a stone's throw from the ground. And my mum and dad used to work at Henry Compton School, which they used to use as a car park for the school. So used to get free Fulham. Huh?
I think they still do.
Yeah, there you go. We used to get free Fulham shirts and everything. And that was when they were in like Division 3, I think, or Division 2. So I used to get free Fulham tickets as well. But obviously now I go watch.
They're not much more expensive than free, though. I mean, I think what is it? Tickets like 25, 30 quid.
Can't give them away, can you?
I remember going once, and I cheered when Fulham scored a goal. And my dad looked at me and went, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "Well, it's a Fulham score. I thought we were supporting Fulham today." He was like, No, you don't celebrate. And I was like, "Oh, Dad, sorry, mate." I apologise to him.
When Rick and I was celebrating with the Fulham fans when Fulham
I was young. Well, no, not after that. It was like the same time when I asked him if, "Hey, Dad, can you get him to put some lime in my pint?" And he refused. He said, "I'm not buying you a pint if you put lime in it." So, he's got great parenting.
Ollie, bit of advertising for you. When's your band on? I saw your band are playing, yeah?
That actually wasn't my band. I got the call on Tuesday and asked if I wanted to fill in. And I did the rock and roll thing and learned everything in a day, and then got on stage and played. It was great.
Did you play or sing?
I usually sing and play, but this time I played lead guitar. It was good fun. Good.
Rick's a bit of a bassist and guitarist as well, so maybe there's a substitution there if in London.
There you go, Rick.
I've hung up the bass. What's that?
You can join my band. We need a bass player.
Well, I've hung up the bass. I'm now back on rhythm guitar. Our band's been together for 7 years. We've had one gig.
You can never hang up the bass.
We need to wind this up, guys. We can come back.
It's just getting good.
Yeah. Save that for my music.
Just say, like us, share us. This is FTB Sport. We're going to have to wait weeks. We're going to have to come up with something in the interim, something.